You're listening to CFRN, the Christian Financial Radio Network.
Good afternoon, traders, and welcome back to the CFRN Emini Futures Cast. This is the daily broadcast of Indeterminate Length, where we discuss all things Emini, along with some really big ideas on the finer points of trading gold, bonds, crude, sugar, the euro. Joining us today, Mr. Michael Borth. From our trading desk in Chicago, Mr. Burton Schlichter. Now, to get things started, let's go to our host and founder in Studio A, overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. Here's Dwayne.
Good afternoon. Welcome back. Today is Tuesday, 5th day of May, 2026. And let me be the first to say, Happy Cinco de Mayo. Did you know that? It's true. Sort of like our July 4th. It's a big deal here in Phoenix because, well, we have a lot of people. I don't know what the politically correct term is anymore. Hispanics, Mexicans, Latinx, I don't know. We love everybody, so anyway. Thanks for joining us today, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever your preferred pronouns are. You're always welcome here. Fair enough? All right. Well, let's get to it. The market's telling us a very specific story today. Wall Street spent yesterday acting like the world might be catching fire, and today it's acting like maybe, just maybe, cooler heads are still in the room. As we head into the afternoon session, stocks are higher across the board. The NASDAQ is leading, the S&P is comfortably green, and the Dow is up as well. Tech and chip names are carrying the mail again, with investors stepping back into risk now that oil has backed off the worst of its panic move. That is the key signal this morning. Fear is still on the screen, but it's no longer in total control. The reason for the rally is pretty simple. Traders are betting the U.S.-Iran situation does not re-escalate into a broader war. And when that fear dial comes down even a notch, money runs right back into growth, semis, and the higher beta parts of the market. So today's tape is not just bullish, it is relief bullish, and there's a difference. On the news side, conservatives have plenty to watch. Border crossings reportedly hit a 55-year low, which undercuts the old claim that enforcement could not work without some giant Washington grand bargain. Trump cabinet officials are also pressing Congress for more border money, which tells you the administration wants to turn policy momentum into something durable. On election integrity, there's a brand new push behind voter ID and the Save America Act. And on the economic front, the debt picture, well, just keeps getting uglier, with publicly held federal debt now topping our annual GDP, which is not just bad math, it is a warning flare for the next generation. So the theme today is this: markets are rewarding stability, voters are still hungry for order, and Washington still has not dealt honestly with the spending problem. And that's where we start today's broadcast. As you know, we do 2 live broadcasts every trading day. The first live broadcast is our live trading room. So to get in there, you got to be a member or taking your 1-week free trial. If you haven't taken your 1-week free trial, when Michael joins us at the top of the hour, he'll walk you through how to take the trial. There's no credit card required. Don't need to know your mother's maiden name or any of that nonsense. We just want you to have 5 worry-free trading days. Weekends don't count against you, nor do holidays. So it doesn't matter what day you start the trial. You start the trial today, we'll get your indicators up and indicating today. The trial will officially begin tomorrow, and then you'll get 5 consecutive trading days on the trial. And the reason we don't ask for any kind of credit card and all of that is we want you focused on what's being taught, so that at the end of the trial you can make a well-informed, intelligent decision as to whether or not trading is right for you. Now, this broadcast, on the other hand, the afternoon broadcast, is open to the public. Everybody everywhere on planet Earth with an internet-connected device. There's 2 different ways to join this afternoon broadcast live. The best way, you only got to do it once. Go to mytradingiq.com. Scroll down the page to where it says Noon Broadcast. Click the link, fill out the 30-second registration form, and you're done. What will happen going forward is every trading day, you'll get an email about an hour before this broadcast starts. In the email, there's a link, so at 12 noon Eastern, all you have to do is click the link in the email, and it automatically logs you into our platform. The benefit there is you immediately have access to the question box, so you can ask questions and participate in the discussion. Of course, there'll be days you're out of the office, away from your desktop, but you still want to join live. Some days you'll be busy, so you can't join live, but you want to get caught up later. You can do both of those via our YouTube channel, which is easy to remember. youtube.com/CFRN. That's the Christian Financial Radio Network since 2005. Not only do we broadcast live every trading day on our YouTube channel, as we're doing right now, simulcasting, but we also archive each and every daily broadcast. Currently, there's over 3,000 daily episodes archived for your educational and viewing pleasure. And if you're new to our neck of the woods, it's a great way to get to know who we really are. Thanks to the power of YouTube, you can scroll back 6 days, 6 weeks, 6 months, 6 years, even more, a lot more. Obviously, you're not going to watch them all, nor do you need to. But it is a great resource to have at your fingertips because it allows you to see how we've evolved over all these years, day by day by day. On the left side of the screen is our schedule for each afternoon broadcast. As I said, Michael will join us at the top of the hour for a recap of what happened this morning in the live training room, then do a little live trading as time and the markets permit. But we're going to start where we always do, with our daily devotional. The topic we're on is everyday faith. Today's scripture is Ephesians 1, verses 9 and 10 from the NIV translation. He made known to us the mystery of his will according to his good pleasure, which he purposed in Christ, to be put into effect when the times reach their fulfillment, to bring unity to all things in heaven and on earth under Christ. Ephesians 1, verses 9 through 10. He has made known to us the mystery of his will, to unite all things in Christ. The larger story here is not ultimately about your comfort, your clarity, or even your personal growth. It's about Christ. Full stop. Paul says that from before the foundation of the world, God purposed something to sum up all things in Christ. Heaven and earth, history and hope, the fractured and the faithful, all things brought under the headship of Jesus. That is the ark. The cross was not an emergency plan. It was not a reaction to human failure. It was the unfolding of what God had purposed from eternity, that his Son would be exalted and that redemption would display his glory. When you step back far enough, you begin to see that your life is not the center of the story. Christ is. This is not diminishing, it's freeing. Your disappointments are not the axes of history. Your setbacks are not the decisive thread. Even your victories are not the ultimate aim. God is moving history toward the glory of his Son. The resurrection was not merely proof of life after death. It was declaration of kingship. Jesus is Lord. The larger story is this: God is reconciling a people to himself through Christ, and one day every knee will bow and every tongue confess that Jesus Christ is Lord, to the glory of God the Father. When that becomes clear, our perspective shifts. Your life matters deeply, not because it revolves around you, but because it participates in what God is doing for his name. The question is no longer, how does this benefit me? The question becomes, how is Christ being formed, revealed, and honored through this? Suffering, success, obscurity, opportunity, all of it falls under a larger purpose, that Christ would be magnified. The believer's confidence rests here. History is not drifting, it is moving toward the public glory of Jesus. And you are caught up in that movement. His purpose fulfilled in you brings him glory. So here's your question to meditate on. Where in your life might God be inviting you to care more about his glory than your personal benefit? That's a deep one. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, anchor our lives in your eternal purpose. Let Christ be exalted in us, whether in ease or in hardship. The center of gravity shifts from our story interpreted rightly to Christ as the center of the story. It's in Jesus' name we believe and pray. And everybody said, amen. Amen and happy Tuesday. Let me give you the numbers from around the world. We'll start here in the U.S. with the cash markets, or the indices as they're called. The Dow's up 257 points. NASDAQ's up 249, 1%. S&P 500 is up 57, almost 1%. And the Russell 2000 is up 42 points. That's over 1.5%. In the commodity basket, crude oil down again today, $4.30, trading 102.12 last. That's a drop of 4%. Gold is up $43 and make that $42.80, trading 45.76 last. That's a gain of almost 1%. Silver's up 32 cents, trading 73.85 last. The Asian markets at the close. The Nikkei posted a gain of 228 points. Shanghai rose 4, but the Hang Seng fell 197. And in the European markets at the close, FTSE down 144 points, 1.5%. The DAX up 410 points, 1.75%, and the CAC up 86, which is well over 1%. So we had a mixed day in Asia. It was a mixed day for the UK. But at the moment, it is a big green radio Tuesday here in the US of A. Let's take a look at the news. The U.S. reportedly sank 6 Iranian military speedboats yesterday, while its ally, the United Arab Emirates, accused Iran of a drone attack, putting the 4-week ceasefire between the U.S. and Iran under strain. The speedboats were allegedly targeting U.S. Navy ships that were aiding commercial vessels as a part of Mission Freedom, or Project Freedom, which is designed to help guide stranded ships through the Strait of Hormuz. Iran claims it struck an American warship, but the U.S. denies this and says it successfully transited 2 American-flagged commercial ships through the strait. Meanwhile, the UAE said Iran launched 4 drones hitting a key facility used to avoid shipping some oil through the strait. As of this writing, it is unclear whether an explosion aboard a South Korean-operated ship off the UAE was caused by Iranian fire. Roughly 20,000 sailors have been stuck in the Persian Gulf for weeks, unable to cross the Strait of Hormuz. That's all about to change, one way or another. GameStop, we mentioned this yesterday, made an unsolicited $56 billion offer Sunday to acquire eBay, a bid to create a combined company capable of rivaling Amazon. eBay said yesterday its board will review the offer, which is nearly 20% above its $46 billion closing valuation on Friday. GameStop, valued at nearly $12 billion, is pursuing a company nearly 4 times its size. To fill the gap, the largely brick-and-mortar company is offering 50% cash and 50% GameStop shares, and says it has secured a commitment of up to $20 billion from TD Bank in debt financing. CEO Ryan Cohen maintains the combined company could leverage GameStop's roughly 1,600 stores to fulfill eBay orders, largely focused on collectibles. Cohen also hopes to push eBay toward live commerce, involving real-time video streams of sales. Now, I know most of you probably never heard of Nellis Auctions. You should Google it, Nellis. You'll have an eye-opening experience. The 2026 Pulitzer Prize winners were announced yesterday, honoring last year's distinguished work in journalism and the arts. Now, this may make you a little nauseous. The Washington Post received the gold medal for public service for its coverage of the Trump administration's overhaul of federal agencies. Reuters won for documenting the expansion of executive power. The New York Times won for exposing conflicts of interest tied to the presidency. And the Associated Press won for its global probe into Silicon Valley-built surveillance tools now deployed by the U.S. Border Patrol. Are you detecting a theme there? You think the Pulitzer guys are leaning a little bit to the left? On Wall Street, U.S. stocks rose today while oil prices fell. You'll see all that when we go to the charts, as wary markets monitored a fragile U.S.-Iran ceasefire and assess the latest rush of earnings. Oil prices pulled back from yesterday's surge as the U.S.-Iran truce appears to hold, despite exchanges of fire, which I think is kind of the definition of not a ceasefire, as both sides try to exert control in the Strait of Hormuz. Well, as I said, we got the bigger gun there. Against that backdrop, investors are looking to earnings growth, solid this season so far, to provide fuel to keep this year's rally in stocks going. Today, Advanced Micro Devices results should shine light on the chip sector, underpinning the AI boom, with ARM reporting tomorrow. So we got AMD after the bell today and ARM reporting tomorrow. On the flip side, Palantir shares slid after its results yesterday beat Wall Street estimates for the first quarter and profit, as questions lingered about the impact of AI tools on its software business. Good earnings. And the stock drops. This is not your father's market. The time, good news, market goes up, stocks go up. Bad news, they go down. It's just not the case anymore. Some news out of Coinbase today. It's letting go of 700 employees in the coming weeks. The move, which amounts to a 14% reduction in the crypto firm's headcount as of May 1st, is intended to manage operating expenses in response to current market conditions and optimize the company's operations for the AI era. In other words, people are losing their jobs to AI. CEO Brian Armstrong said two forces are converging at the same time. We need to be front-footed to respond to both. In addition to the cuts, Armstrong said Coinbase aims to have no pure managers and will shrink its organizational structure to a maximum of 5 layers between top executives and all of the firm's remaining 4,300 workers. Shares of Coinbase rose 4% in pre-market trading today. The stock, however, has fallen 10% since the beginning of January. Uncle Sam's longest-term debt is back above the stock market's pain line. The U.S. 30-year Treasury yield jumped 6 basis points yesterday to 5.03%, its biggest one-day move since March 20th, and its highest level since July of 2025. It should be bullish for metals. From Reuters, Alphabet is on the cusp of overtaking NVIDIA as the world's most valuable company, riding on a record stock rally fueled by its artificial intelligence efforts and booming cloud business. The potential reshuffling would put the Google parent at the #1 spot for the first time in more than a decade. It last held that spot briefly in February 2016 before Apple reclaimed the top spot. As I mentioned, Air reported Q1 revenue and profit that topped analyst estimates, driven by surging sales to commercial clients and the U.S. government sector. The company's revenue jumped 85% in the first 3 months of this year to $1.63 billion, beating the consensus estimate of $1.53 billion. The majority of that revenue, or $1.28 billion, came from the U.S. alone. Now that's really good news, right? So why is Palantir down 7% on the session? Like I said, not your father's market. Wall Street's top regulator is crafting regulations to undo a dormant Biden-era rule intended to help investors gauge companies' climate-related spending and risks, according to a notice on the U.S. Budget Office website. The move comes a year after the Securities and Exchange Commission declined to tell a federal court whether it planned either to change the rule or defend the 2024 regulations against industry-backed court challenges that dogged the agency's rule-making efforts under the previous administration. President Trump rejects the scientific consensus on climate change, and his administration has moved to undo related regulations adopted under former President Joe Biden. In a statement, an SEC spokesperson said the agency was working to rescind the rule, to return to the SEC's core mandate of requiring that corporate disclosures focus on information that is material to investors, which he said was in line with its legal authority. Under President Biden, the SEC adopted watered-down rules requiring publicly traded companies to tell investors about climate-related risks, emissions, and spending, with Republican-led states and an industry group immediately challenging this in court. The SEC then stayed the rule pending the outcome of the court battles. Under President Trump, the SEC voted in March of last year to cease defending the rule in court, which industry and conservative critics said exceeded the SEC's legal authority. An appeals court then suspended consideration of the case. Where does it all end? I don't know. The release of U.S. employment report this morning, later this week, will serve as a test of whether the economy remains resilient enough to keep the Federal Reserve's monetary policy on hold, or whether a softening labor market could revive the case for interest rate cuts that the war with Iran has all but buried. Now, I'm not an economist. I don't play one on TV. We have an economy with a softening labor market. So let's jack up interest rates to fix it. I already mentioned that our national debt is now greater than our GDP. We struggle every year just to service the interest on our debt. If there was ever a time, ever a reason, ever a call for lower interest rates, hello, the time has come. What else we got? The deep state strikes back. Okay. Last month, the Justice Department targeted a central hub of the left's cancel culture machine that weaponized the federal government under President Biden. Just over a week later, Democrats received a whistleblower report claiming that the DOJ rushed the indictment against the Southern Poverty Law Center. To my eyes, this looks like a deep state operation to undermine the government's case and prop up the SPLC's flagging reputation. A federal grand jury indicted the Southern Poverty Law Center on wire fraud, bank fraud, and conspiracy charges for sending money to field sources, members of the very white supremacist groups the center claims that it exists to dismantle. The SPLC did not deny funding members of the Ku Klux Klan and the Aryan Nations, but insisted the funds were part of an informant program that it used to prevent violent attacks. Yeah, I'm not buying it either. But hey, that's the news. Logic 247. That's our 24/7 around the clock Emini alert service. It's not just E-minis, it's also crude, gold, and silver. We are in week 405. Last week, week 404, we issued a total of 71 alerts, 10 never triggered. So we had 61 actionable alerts, 5 got stopped out. That would be 8%. Now we find ourselves in week 405. Over the last 405 weeks, we've issued over 22,000 individual handcrafted alerts. And what we've averaged on a weekly basis is 20% or less of the alerts being stopped out, based simply on market structure and a simple process we teach all of our passport holders. So far this week, since the markets opened Sunday night at 6 p.m. Eastern, we've issued 29 alerts, and when Valerie did the recap this morning at 6:30 a.m. Eastern, we were still waiting on the outcome of 15. All of them short trades, I believe. No, there are some long ones in there. Yeah. Anyhow, at the time she did the recap, and of course she'll update it this afternoon as she does each day, 14 actionable alerts so far this week. And so far, nothing stopped out. But it's only Tuesday. Now, the logic alerts are designed to help you learn how to read a chart. If you're going to trade for a living, you got to be able to read the chart. You need to know where to anticipate potential resistance and potential support. In doing so, you unveil the windows of opportunity that exist between those important points, and that's where you find your best high probability, low risk trade opportunities. Every logic alert has an entry price, long or short, then an initial target designed to help you get your goal for the day, and then additional targets in most cases, and then always a final trade to target. If you never actually trade a logic alert, you can still use them for the purpose intended, and that is to learn to read the chart. If you look at the chart and you see chaos, no rhyme, no reason, that just means you need to buckle down and learn to read the chart. Because there is a rhyme, there is a reason, and as we point out each and every day on this broadcast, whenever I show you the CTAs, which we'll get to in a minute, I show you the reason that the long target's where it is and why the short target's where it is. Anyway, the logic alerts can come out anytime around the clock, 2 a.m. or 2 p.m. Futures trade around the clock. We have traders around the globe. Our day session is their night session, and vice versa. Now, 405 weeks is a long time. It's about 7.5 years. But long before we had Logic 247, we had our original alert service, the concierge trade alerts. Now, they're different in a lot of different ways. But for the purpose of this discussion, I'll just say this. They typically come out 5 minutes ahead of the Globex open. Sunday night, they came out at exactly 5:55. And last night, I got them done a little bit early, so I went ahead and pushed them out at 5:48 p.m. Eastern. The Tuesday session began last night at 6 p.m. Eastern. So what that means is all of our traders had all of these targets 12 minutes before the market opened last night. The futures close at 5 p.m. Eastern. There's a 1-hour break. And then at 6 p.m. Eastern, the futures market reopens. And that's the beginning of the new session. Like today, the Tuesday session will end at 5 p.m. Eastern. And then tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern, the markets will reopen. And that's the beginning of the Wednesday session. So all of our traders had all of these targets 12 minutes before the market opened last night. S&P 500, the Dow, the Russell, crude oil, the NQ, gold, and silver. So let's go to the charts and see exactly what happened. We'll start where we always do with the daily chart of the bellwether, the S&P 500 E-mini futures. Now, on Friday, we put in a new all-time historic high, 7,303 quarters. But then we closed the session red, which led me Sunday night to announce in the discussion group that I was expecting a gap lower open. Son of a gun, that's a technical term. We had a gap higher open. So that was Friday. That was yesterday. See, Sunday night we gapped all the way up here. And then that little wick, there was a little bit of green. And then we dropped to the black step line, which I also said in my commentary in the discussion group should provide good support. Well, the black step line is still good support. Price is sitting right on top of it. And it looks like we could make a run at the all-time historic high. Today's high so far, 72.88. Friday's high again, 7,303 quarters. So we're definitely within striking distance, and it looks like we're at the high of the session. We're just about. Now, price always reverts to the mean. I don't care what you trade or how you trade it. Price always reverts to the mean. You may not understand how gravity works, but trust me, it works. Now, in our case, the mean is green. It's this green line. And price always reverts to the mean. Take it back a ways. The market moves in legs. You get a leg and a retracement. What's interesting is the reversion to the mean, or in our case, the pullback to the BVC, holds more often than it doesn't. This retracement lasted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days. Gave us another leg and another retracement, and once again the pullback held. Then a leg and a retracement, a leg and a retracement, and the pullback held until it didn't. So just remember this, price always reverts to the mean. The pullback to the BBC holds more often than it doesn't, but eventually it will trade through. So we have support at the low of the day, which is that black step line. The next area for support would be yesterday's low, where we just barely spiked the black step line. And then this is still a very valid window of opportunity here. It's about 30 points. But the market doesn't look like it wants to go down. It looks like it wants to go up. The high again, 72.88. 72.90 to 7,300. It could be in play. Let's go to this is where we make the sausage. The 30-minute chart. Nothing magic about 30 minutes. It's just the time frame I chose years ago, and I've stuck with it. The vertical line separates today, Tuesday. Over here is Monday. The The horizontal lines are the weekly trading zones. You can't see them all. There's some more above and there's one more below. When price drops to a weekly zone, we expect support until proven otherwise. When price rallies up to a zone, we expect resistance until proven otherwise. One of three things happens when price encounters a weekly trading zone. 70% of the time it's this, consolidation. 20% of the time it's this, rejection. 10% of the time, the slice. That's when a 30-minute candle slices through a zone like it's not even there. When that happens and the move runs out of steam, price will typically retrace back to the zone it sliced through and then continue in the direction of the slice. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 30-minute candles. For 3 hours we've been consolidating at the weekly zone 7282/7283. Now what just changed is the black step line crossed blue and climbing. What does that mean? It means price should retrace back to the BBC. Price always reverts to the mean, and when the step line crosses blue and climbing or red and falling, that's your heads up that price is about to do a retracement. Whether it pulls down from below or whether it pulls down from above or pulls up from below. The pullback holds more often than it doesn't. See, this pullback here yesterday, we had a leg and a retracement. Pullback held. Now these weekly zones, they're published every Monday morning at 6:15 a.m. Eastern. Once they're published, they're carved in stone for the entire week. They don't change in any way whatsoever. We've published the zones now for over 16 years, every Monday. December 14th of 2009. That was the first time, the first week, we published the weekly zones. And since I created them and started publishing them, I have not changed a thing. Nothing. That's 16 years of history. Support, resistance. That's how it works. Price goes from zone to zone to zone. Or it goes from zone to zone to zone. Pretty simple. Okay, so these CTA targets, I just showed you the list. Our traders had these targets 12 minutes before the market opened last night. So on the ES, we opened right at support, right at the weekly zone. Okay, but we're below the BBC, so that means expect lower prices. We did get lower prices, but those lower prices ran into blue and climbing. You see, red and falling is bearish, blue and climbing is bullish. And the pullback held here, and here, and here, and here. But right here, you had a candle open and close above the BBC. Now we're officially bullish as opposed to bearish. And we hit the long target at about an hour ahead of the London Open. Now, this long target was based off right here. See where the black step line crossed blue and climbing, turning it into red and falling? That's an important price, important area. The short target was just based on yesterday's low. Okay. Now we still have 2 more zones overhead if the market wants to keep climbing. 7320/21 and then 7411/7412. What the zones do for our traders is they create sort of a playing field for the week. We expect price not to end the week above the highest zone or below the lowest zone. Throughout the week, it just goes from zone to zone, back to the zone, down to the zone, up to the zone, right? Price is always trying to reach a weekly trading zone. If price is below the BBC, it's trying to get to the zone below. If price is above the BBC, it's trying to get to the zone above. Pretty simple. Now, we definitely have a cross right up here, the step line cross blue and climbing. But price doesn't seem to want to do the retracement. Overnight, you can see right here the step line crossed, and we tried to retrace to the BBC, but we didn't quite get there. That is incredibly bullish. It would have warranted me just buying the open of the next candle with a target at the zone. So this candle opened at oh, come on. This candle opened at 72.55 and it ran up 10 points to the zone. You only need 2 points to get your goal for the day. This thing's defying gravity here, but it hasn't taken out the high of the session yet. That may be where the retracement begins. Or maybe we put in a new high on the session. On the Dow, here's where we opened last night. We dropped to blue and climbing just like the ES. And blue and climbing walked us right up to the BBC and through it. And then we hit a weekly zone. Okay. We consolidated for hours. The pullback held. The pullback held. The pullback held. See, this was a huge red candle. That was a 9:30 opening candle. We had a big red candle all the way down to here. But by the time the 30-minute candle closed and we got the econ reports at 10 o'clock, 10 a.m. Eastern, price was all the way back here, and then this is the 10 o'clock candle, and this is how we reacted to the econ reports. We went up and hit the long target and the zone. The CTA target was at 49.05. You see right there where the black step line crossed blue and climbing and turned it to red and falling? Important price, important area. The zone is 49.410/415. And the high of that candle is 430. So we spiked it by a little bit. But you see how that works? The step line has crossed, blue and climbing, so look for a retracement back to the BBC. Keeping in mind that this pullback held, this pullback held, this pullback held, this pullback held. Pullback holds more often than not, but eventually it will trade through. The Russell. Here's where we opened last night. And by 22:30, we hit the long target and a zone. So we consolidated for hours at the zone. And then we moved higher, and on the retracement, the pullback held. We spiked the BBC right down to the zone, to the tick. Like I said, these zones are published Monday morning, 6:15 a.m. Eastern. And once they're published, they're carved in stone for the entire week. They don't change. Now, I said 10% of the time you get the slice, right? See how this 30-minute candle sliced through the zone like it wasn't even there? It then retraced back to the zone, 28.25/26. See that red candle? And then it continued in the direction of the slice. We Still got one more zone overhead on the Russell, up at 2890/91. The step line is crossing here, so look for the retracement. Okay. On the NQ. Here's where we opened last night, 6 p.m. Eastern. Once we got above the BBC, right up to the long target. Consolidation at the zone, and then another up move and consolidation at the zone. The step line is crossed blue and climbing, so look for a retracement. Crude oil opened here, and we dropped to the short target around 12:30 midnight. We almost got it here. I mean, this one candle, it opened at 104.43 and dropped to 103.92. That's about $500 per contract traded in that 130-minute candle. Then we hit the zone, support. Whenever the market finds support, it's going to go look for resistance. The pullback held. Resistance will send the market looking for support. Support sends it to resistance. Resistance sends it to support. Now this low here, got a little double bottom going on there. It's right where the black step line crossed the BBC. And now look at all these pullbacks in a row that held. First you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 pullbacks in a row held. And then we consolidated at the zone, and our low on the session. See, I would have expected price to drop right there, but it didn't. So you got to trade what's in front of you. Now the step line is crossed red and falling, so look for price to run up to the BBC. Now the pullback held on all these moves. Will it hold this time? Well, we'll have to wait and see. Gold opened here, ran into blue and climbing, got a leg and a retracement. Pullback held, leg and a retracement, pullback held, and then a leg that took us to the long target. We consolidated. Resistance sends the market looking for support. Pullback held. And then again, we sliced through the zone, retraced to the zone we sliced through, and continued in the direction of the slice. Now we took out these highs from yesterday by just a little bit. And just a little bit is usually a sign of weakness. And when you trade through a CTA long target on the pullback, quite often the top side of the long target will itself become support. So depending upon how this candle closes, I've got 5 minutes left in the life of this candle. The candle is not touching the BBC, so an up close it will be touching. That will mean the pullback held. But as you can see, the black step line crossed, and we just dropped right to the BBC. Should be a decent long trade coming out of here, but you got potential resistance there at the black step line, at blue and climbing, and then of course at the high of the session. If you get above that, then it's over here. That would be nice. So we actually got back above 4,500. No, I was looking for 4,600. We didn't make it, did we? Nope. That's okay. Silver. Silver kind of quiet today. This is where we opened last night. So we had a leg and a retracement, pullback held. Then we ran into blue and climbing. That got us above the BBC. So we had a leg and a retracement, pull back held. Leg and a retracement, pull back held. But once blue and climbing gets directly above price, it can become potential resistance because it's probably on its way to becoming red and falling, which is bearish. Now, right here, we had a bullish cross last night. That's when the blue line gets above the green line. When you have a bullish cross that leads to an extended move, the first time price revisits that area will almost always be good support. And there you have it. That's the support we just bounced off of. Is it enough to turn silver around? Well, that remains to be seen. And that brings us all the way back to the daily chart, where we're just off the high of the session. To become a member, get a hold of Valerie. You can email her, support@cfrn.net, or you can call her, 949-42-EMINI. Simply let her know that you're interested in becoming a member. She will email you an info pack that explains what it means to become a member, and she'll provide you a means of becoming a member. Once you are a member, you get 2 hours of live training every trading day. That is so important. 9 out of 10 new traders fail because they don't have anyone to teach them how to trade. There's a million people out there that'll sell you indicators and oscillators and a set of instructions, but we're in the trenches with you every single day for 2 hours. On top of the 2 hours of live training in real markets, real time, get private one-on-one mentoring. No extra charge. All you got to do is ask. The strategy you learn, the indicators you use as a passport holder are fluid across all markets and all time frames. Stocks, futures, crypto, Forex, ETF, it doesn't matter. Price flows the same across all markets and all time frames. As a passport holder, you get the Logic 247 alerts so you can learn how to read the chart. 5 minutes ahead of the Globex Open each evening, you'll get the concierge trade alerts. Every Thursday night, you'll be able to attend the members only workshop. Now, Michael's going to be away Thursday night and Friday, but I'm going to do a workshop Thursday night, and I'm going to show all of the members exactly how I do the Logic 247 alerts. So you might want to catch that one. If you can't catch it live, it will be in the video channel. Last but not least, you get the golden keys that open all the private channels in Telegram, and there's quite a few. Honestly, it's everything a trader needs. All under one roof. That's important. One low price. Just get a hold of Valerie. 949-42-EMINI. You'll probably get her voicemail. Leave a message. She'll call you back. Or just email her. support@cfrn.net. Let her know you want to become a member. She'll send you all the information you need to make a well-informed, intelligent decision as to whether or not what we do is right for you. It's time for the Michael Show. Let's see if he makes it in. Michael, are you there? Michael's not home, man. That's an old Cheech and Chong reference, but his name was Dave. That was light years ahead of the Let's Get Small by, what's his name? Funny guy. Steve Martin, that's it. All right, we're just waiting on Michael. He's going to give us a recap of what happened this morning in the live training room, and then do a little bit of live trading as time and the markets permit. We're just waiting on him to show up.
Here I am.
There he is, the man of the half hour.
Okay. On time.
Bingo.
All right. There we go. So today, if I get the goal for the day, then I might just talk about stuff and not trade anymore.
Okay.
Follow our motto.
Fair enough.
Get the goal for the day, put the mouse away. Actually, it shouldn't be that difficult to do what I did this morning, which we'll get into here in just a minute.
Well, everything looks good, so you go right ahead.
All right. All right, here we go. Good afternoon, everyone. Today is Tuesday, the 5th day of May, 2026. Now, if you have not taken a free trial with us, and you would like to take a free trial with us, go here to mytradingiq.com, click on the purple button. There is no credit card required for this trial. Just click on that purple button, and when you do, it will bring you to, well, this page. On this page, all that we ask for is your name, your email, and your phone number. Down at the bottom, make sure you give us TradingView login ID. Click the register button. Once you hit register, we will know that you took the free trial, and we'll get your indicators indicating for you on your chart, as long as you give us that TradingView login ID. All right. If anybody doesn't know what that is, hover over this thing right here. It says what you're logged in as. See, I'm logged in as CFRN. That's what it is. Okay. Okay. Results today. They were positive. We were negative at one point this morning, but we came back to positive, and we actually got up pretty good, probably 3 times that at one point, and then we gave it back. And we only had 3 stop outs. But well, let's just get into it. Today is the 5th day of May, 2026. We're minus 40 on the NQ. That was our last NQ trade. We were plus 34 on the Russell, plus 15 on the YM, and plus 3 on the ES. Only 3 on the ES. And it took us 4 trades to get those 3. That puts us at 82.50, barely positive on the morning session. Today it took 20 minutes and 6 trades to get to $1,000 per contract, $1,000 total, or 100 per contract. So if we would have quit there, we would have been higher than trading the rest of the morning. But as you know, we trade for the full 2 hours every morning, which is something that you guys don't need to do. And I would recommend you put that mouse away as soon as you get your goal for the day. If you're not in training right now, if you're not in training mode, you're trading real money, put that mouse away as soon as you can, because the markets are just not really conducive to trading all that well right now. But it took 20 minutes and 6 trades to get to $1,000, and we took 16 trades altogether. So another 10 trades, and we lost $12.50. $12? No, $17.50. Is that right? Yeah, $17. How's that work out? Anyway, we had 3 stop outs, so 81.25% of our trades were break even or better. And that puts us only at $925 a contract on the month, over 3 days, averaging $308 per day. That is so low. On the year now, that puts us at $79,977. Over 73 business days, averaging $1,095 per contract by 2-hour business day. And I'm not sure, I know these numbers aren't right, so I'm not going to get into the 24/20, but so far this year, this number would be right. We would have only had to work 10.38 hours so far this year if you would have quit trading when you got the goal for the day. Okay, I know that number is right. And this number here is probably right. This number is wrong. But anyway, I'll fix those up at some point here in the near future. Now, the trades that we actually did take. We'll start out with the Russell. All the trades on the Russell were good trades today. Okay, the first trade was a +5. The second trade was another +5 that got us to 10. Then we had a +15 that got us to 25. Then we had a +9 that got us to 34. And that was it on the Russell for us this morning. Hey, it's never done that before. I can't do it again. Okay. Well. Okay, there it is. It did do it again. So if I hold down and hover, it gives me the high and low of every bar as I hover over it. That's pretty cool. Anyway, we don't have a trade here yet. All right, we need an up close followed by a down close to have a trade here on the Russell. Okay. And the YM, today on the YM, we started out with a stop out on the YM right here. It was -25, and that wasn't even a valid trade because it wasn't off the mid band right there. I should have waited to come off the mid band, and I wouldn't have taken that stop out. But I didn't really see it. I thought it was off the mid-band. I didn't notice that it wasn't. But anyway, so that was our first stop out. We're at minus 25. Then we picked up 20 ticks here to get us to minus 5. And then we picked up 20 more ticks right here to get us to plus 15. So the 2 trades that we did take that were valid trades were good trades, good solid trades. Right now, it is not ready for a trade here either. Both the Russell and the YM need an up close followed by a down close. Okay. The ES today, we ended up with plus a whopping 3 ticks over 4 trades. Right, I don't have all 4 of them in here. The first one was a break even, the next one was a +1, the next one was a +1, and the final one was a +1. That's how we got our 3 ticks. Now, this is a really tight range today. I didn't go and look and see what the whole range looked like. It seemed like this morning price just wanted to keep going up. At least on the NQ, it seemed like it wanted to keep going up. And we'll get into that in just a minute here too. What time is it? 1:07. Okay. Do we have any trades yet? We still don't. Still no trades yet. All right. So on the NQ today, I guess I don't need to rush scrolling back, and it's only going to take a couple of seconds anyway. Here we are on the NQ. Our first trade on the NQ was 12 ticks. Then we stopped out, put us at minus 24. Then we picked up, keep looking at the wrong one. We picked up 2, that got us to minus 22. Looks like, no, I'm sorry, we picked up 10. We picked up 12, that got us to minus 12. And then we picked up 8, that got us to minus 4. And then we stopped out at the end. And that was the stop out pretty much to the tick right there. And eventually went up to the point where I would have bumped my stop to break even or taken 10 ticks in profit. But it's just been painfully slow. Not really much you can do with all that. And so we ended up, after that last stop out, we ended up with a minus 40. This was a minus 36 right here. We're at minus 4 going into it, minus 40. And that was it. That was our whole session. And so far in this session, it's just like it's been. There's nothing to trade right here. So if we drop these down to smaller time frames, we go down to a 9 range here and a 9 range here. And let's see if we had any trade setups at all in the 9 range that we would have been able to capitalize on. This one, nope, that's not valid. This one. Not really. Not really much at all. Anyway, I'm going to go back to the 19 range. Getting my dominant set up for the 19 range right now. So that's it. Does anybody have any questions about any of that? If not, then I'll save it right here and we'll go look at some bigger picture things. So this morning at the open on the SPY, we had a huge gap up here on the SPY. Did I have an SPY signal last night? I don't recall. IWM call, IBIT put. So the IWM call, I don't know what IWM did this morning. Let's look at that one. 2M. That gapped up. Okay. So that was 176. 5-5 call. I'm sure that went up a lot. I'm just gonna save this. And so the ES today on a daily. We opened here. The ES didn't gap. It just opened here. Pretty much off the close. And it's had a big move up. It hasn't moved down much at all today. In this session anyway, since last night. All right. So we have 20 minutes left. Now, I would go fill out the sheet for today, but I have a feeling we may not have any trades. see. Mhm. All right. Mm, okay, so we're still looking for the up close here. The up close here is not going to be enough. It's going to have 2 up closes now. The up close on the YM could still be, I think it could still be enough. What you have to look at is where the mid band is. Right, the mid band on this is at 310, and the low of this is at 298. So it's going to be plus 20 on top of that. All right, is where the bar is going to close. So the low, yeah, the low is 298. So it's going to be 308, 318 is where the top of the bar would be right now. 318. So this bar right now, so far, is only going from 297 up to 307. It's only got 10 ticks. What am I looking at? Oh, it's a 9 range. Okay, that's why. Hang on. We gotta go back to the 19 range. I was going to say that does not make sense at all. Here we are. Okay, so we're still looking for the same thing here, but this one now we're looking at 20 ticks above the bottom. It's got a low here of 94, so you're going to be looking at 04 and 14. Is 14 at or above the mid band? It is not. So this is not going to turn into a trade. Neither one of those will turn into a trade right now. This is not a trade over here because the mid band is not flat. The mid band is not flat. So we just have nothing happening right now. Nothing happening right now. And let's see. We just don't have anything. The NQ is price action wise, it's in a position for a short trade, not a long trade. Background color is green, so we're going to be looking for a long there. And I just don't know that we're going to get it. And we are now halfway through. We have 15 minutes left, so we'll see what happens.
Anything yet?
Nope, nothing yet. We're pretty close now. Price action wise, the NQ and the S are both set up for a short. It's 50% retracement. We're in the overbought. This just went through the 50% retracement, but it was 50% retracement, and we're in the overbought. So they're set up for the short price action wise, but the background color is green. So we don't have anything. Not a thing. So we just have to wait. Patient.
At one point, the ES looked like it was going to try to take out the new all-time high put in on Friday, but it's backed off a little bit. Maybe it just needed to get a running start. I did show everybody that we were due for a retracement on the ES. And it looks like we got it.
Yeah. We're a little bit off the high of the day on the NQ. The ES high of the day is just right here. It's just 4 or 5 points away right now.
Yep. And then the all-time high is at 7,300 3/4.
It's just right up here.
Yep. We got within 12 points at some point during the day.
So if you jump out here, you know, the high of the day is right there. The high. This was the all-time high right here, I guess, right?
Yep.
Right there, 7,300 3/4. Yep.
So at the high of the session, we were only like 12 points away, roughly.
Well, this is an important thing here. I mean, it's only Tuesday. If we close up above the MA1 right here at this point,
yep.
You know, any good news could easily give us a new all-time high.
You know, as I shared the various news articles from various sources with the audience before you came on, it says Wall Street is they think the ceasefire is going to hold, when everything from a common sense perspective says there's no way it's going to hold. But you got to trade what's in front of you, no matter what you think. Market does not care what you think.
It doesn't. It doesn't. As a matter of fact, it almost plays on your emotions. Feels like it.
Well, yesterday, Palantir had blowout earnings. I mean, they beat all expectations across the board, and yet they were down 7% when I was sharing that news article. Not your father's market. Yeah. Buy the rumor, sell the news. Or sell the rumor, buy the news, depending on which way you're looking at it.
Well, either way, it didn't work out the way logic would have it work out. Fickle markets. Fickle.
So the NQ, they 2 down closes.
Yeah, the NQ's it's gotta go all the way into the oversold, get down to the mid band, then come back up through the mid band. Yeah. So down close on this one, down close on the next one, then an up close after that.
Yeah.
The ES needs 1 down close, 1 up close. 1 down close will flatten it out, and then the up close on the next one will work out. The YM, we've been waiting for the up closes over there, and the Russell, same thing. We're pretty close to trades on those two guys going.
Does everybody understand what Michael just said? We know we need 2 down closes because every range bar on the NQ is exactly 39 ticks.
So the first one will be here. The next one will be about here. And it takes 2 to get from here to here. So the first one of these will probably be about here, and the next one will be all the way down in the oversold. Then after that, we need an up close to take it out of the oversold and take it back across the mid band. That's what we're waiting for. Okay, now over here on the Russell, see, we needed that up close to put it across the mid band and into the overbought. Now we need a down close on this one to go back down below the mid band and out of the overbought. Okay. That's the way it works.
Okay, we got the first NQ down close. Here comes number 2, perhaps.
Yep. And the ES is almost there. The Russell's the closest one right now. Russell currently has a high here of 46.3, so he's selling 44.3 on that. Okay. This is what it looks like on the top. 19 ticks, 1 bar length from the top of the bar is going to end right there. The 20th tick is right there. Okay. That is what we're looking at right now.
And the NQ doesn't seem to want to give a down close.
The YM's going up, not down. The NQ is going to give us an up close, and that's going to throw it off by like 3 bars. And the ES just gave the up close, so that threw that off. So the Russell's our only hope. And we'll see.
So down close on the Russell, guys. You would be selling 2844.3.
So we have it at. Let me just make sure that that's still right. I'm just going to am I done? Yep, that is correct. Where is my down?
Looks like it could happen.
When Iran says, here's your 20-point plan, the U.S. must adhere to, and you're not touching our nuclear stockpiles, and you, the U.S., have 30 days to agree. How can it see? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Well said.
Iran thinks they're calling the shots.
Yeah. Do they really think that?
Yeah.
Boy, I can't tell you guys enough times, so this will be the last time. I posted an episode, the most recent episode of This American Life, in the Breeze channel. I know it's NPR. I know they're left of center. But I've been listening to that podcast every Saturday for 20 years. I listen to it on the radio live when I can. But they have voice memos from people in Iran, just, ordinary Iranian citizens. And they were absolutely heartbroken when Trump agreed to the ceasefire. They want Trump to just come in and get it done.
Just wipe out the regime. And
see, that's right there. They talk about knocking out the bridges and the electricity. Okay, that affects the Iranian people. Why, we know where the IRCG sleeps. Why not just take them out?
Well, that's what they did in the beginning. They took them all out, and now they have no leadership at all. So,
and that's part of the problem. Yeah,
it is.
Nobody's who's in charge.
Yeah. So that's going to take some time to work itself out. I think they figure out who's in charge and who's calling the shots, and there's still they may be losing a ton of revenue by not being able to sell their oil and stuff like that. But the regime still has plenty of money for themselves, not for the whole country. But they're not broke. The people at the top are not broke.
No,
so there's stuff there that they could have.
The IRCG, they're only concerned about themselves, not the Iranian people.
Right. And the oil. Now I read this. The problem with their oil is they're not able to get rid of it. We're in Russell.
Yeah, they're going to have to shut they're going to have to shut the wells down. And I did not know this. Deal. Well, I didn't know this, but you get triggered in? Okay.
Yeah.
Let's watch this, guys.
Okay. That's fine, but I was going to say what I think you're going to say. If they do not take the oil that the wells are producing and they shut the wells down, then that pretty much destroys the wells.
It shortens their lifespan and production capability. Yeah, that is what I was going to say.
Yep.
Now, is an up close on the NQ? Did we touch it? Did we touch the midband?
Yeah, it's green. It's green there. Well, actually, I don't know if we touched the midband. Yeah. It's, I don't know. I don't really want to say it's close enough.
I think it's close enough.
Today's market. I don't really want to say that in today's market because. Yeah, so I'm not going to. I did that this morning. My one stop out on the YM this morning. It ended up not touching me, not touching the midband. This is obvious right here. And my entry is pretty good, I think. Right, the low of that bar was 44.4, and I'm in at 44.5. Actually better by one tick. So I have a really good entry on the Russell.
I see 40 contracts sitting down at 2842.6.
Oh, you're talking about the
DOM.
The DOM on the NQ.
No, I'm sorry. I'm at the Russell.
Oh, 48. Okay.
Yeah. See that number below 2842.6.
28.
Now it's
I'm sorry. I'm looking on the wrong DOM.
38 contracts. Yeah. Now it just went back to 41. Yeah, 40.
What's on the other side? Nothing that significant.
Nothing that big.
So we have 3.5 minutes left to let this thing try to work itself out. If it doesn't do it by 1:30, then
the chart says it should go down, and the tape says it should go down. So,
right. Everything says it should go. So it's just a matter of waiting it out.
The NQ did give an up close.
It did give an up close, and it is moving up. It probably would have given me a break even plus 10 at this point if I'd have taken it. Probably. The entry, the high was 135. What's the high on this? 141. So it's gone 6 points. So yeah, it definitely would have been plus 10.
The Dow's looks like it's going to flip the YBR and go from red to green. Which doesn't bode well for the Russell, that all two are green and one's about to go green.
But this morning, you know what happened this morning at one point? All three of the other ones gapped. I think they gapped down, and the Russell didn't. The Russell was the only one that didn't gap. I think it actually even went the opposite direction. There was one point this morning that happened. And yes, Michael, they are calling to get shot. Well,
we did blow up, I think, 6 of their fast boats, they call them, yesterday.
Yeah, I saw that. I read that. They had taken out 6 of their fast boats. And you can't go faster than a bullet or a missile.
But the Iranian people are so desperate for news outside of Iran because their internet's been shut off.
Yeah.
But the IRCG, they have a special white SIM card that they can put in their phones, and they can still get internet. And of course, they're being sold on the black market. And then there's some other kind of SIM card being sold on the black market that also enables you to get internet access. But if you get caught and you're not supposed to have that SIM card, they'll literally chop your head off.
Literally.
Or some other heinous thing.
Lop it off.
Yep.
Just lop it off. All right, we could stop out on this, Russell. That is a possibility. So, Michael, you are saying that this
volume on the ES micro is low.
I'm going to put it on the daily. And so this is the daily. It's a fraction of yesterday's. We did stop out on this.
Oh, no.
Okay. So it's a fraction of yesterday's volume at this point. You know, even halfway through the day, if it were going to be anything near yesterday's volume, you'd be up here. But it's way down here.
And we had all that news this morning.
I did it wrong. That's D, whatever D is. I go back to the ES. I typed in D, hoping to go to a daily. Here, there's D. All right. So here's the daily. Okay, so the daily is the volume on the daily. Look at all this volume on the daily compared to yesterday.
Whoa.
So I was wrong. I was wrong about that.
Wow, there's a lot of volume.
Compared to yesterday. Right, let me get rid of that.
How come they don't tell you how many contracts are traded?
Oh, wait a minute. That's not right. Let me put the volume on its own thing. Here, move to new pane below. There's the volume. Okay, that was the actuals.
Okay.
That's the bar for the chart.
We haven't broken band yet. All right.
Nope. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so you were talking about the MES too, Michael. That's this guy. Yeah, it's about the same. Okay, so now let me go back to a 7 range before I mess it all up. So, okay. This, and move that down, put that back on.
You probably want to go back to the regular ES.
Oh, yeah, yes. And now I got to fill out the sheet now because it is time. Yes, M. Yeah, that's right. Because we just stopped out on the Russell. Nothing else has really given us a trade. So, and it is now.
That's a crying shame.
It is. Okay. Here to put today's wait day on there. One trade today. It is what it is. Copy.
By the way, guys, that guy Dwayne, he reposted that video a second time in the Breeze channel, so I guess he really wants you to listen to that song.
Go listen to that song. This was about 20 minutes. All right, that brings our average down a little bit. Well, this is going to go to 89. Okay, we're down to averaging $119 per contract in this session, and the average time is now 15.22 minutes. So we stopped out on that one Russell trade, and that put us at minus $125 per contract, or minus $1,250 with 10. 0% of our trades today were break even or better. And that was it. That was our whole thing.
And that's the truth about trading.
Sure is. And so here we are. If you have not taken a free trial with us, go here to mytradingiq.com, click on the purple button. The purple button is going to bring you to this registration page. Just fill it out. When you fill that out, you will be sent a link to get into the room in the morning. And if you give us a TradingView login ID right here, we'll get your indicators indicating on your desktop for you. All right. That is it. With that, I can pass it back out to fabulous Phoenix, Arizona, in Studio A, overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. Dwayne?
This just popped up on Truth Social. It shows the president signing one of his executive orders. U.S.-Canada pipeline reviving Keystone XL secures nearly all commitments needed to start building. So that's kind of a big deal. A proposed pipeline that would transport oil from Canada to the U.S. is getting commitments from companies looking to move the energy through the infrastructure if it's brought online. Remember, that was one of the first things Biden did, as I recall, shut down the Keystone pipeline.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he's all proud of it, too.
Yeah.
Yep. Shut that down. We're going green.
This, and you know, Biden made some, or not Biden, Obama made some stupid comment the other day. That guy, what a clown show.
Yes, he is. He needs to be in prison.
I think so. Yeah. Maybe he can get that operation he always wanted.
Yeah.
On the taxpayer's dime.
Yep.
Okay, recap of the morning session.
All right, today it took 20 minutes and 6 trades to get to $1,000 with 10 contracts on.
Great job.
Thank you very much.
Okay, guys, I'm going to give you one last look at the ES Daily. I covered every market in granular detail. Went over the logic alerts, the CTAs, and if you missed any part of today's broadcast, 10 minutes after I sign off, you can go to youtube.com/CFRN and you can watch today's broadcast in its entirety, or you can fast forward to whatever part you're interested in and enjoy. Currently, there's over 3,000 daily episodes archived there. youtube.com/CFRN. That's the Christian Financial Radio Network since 2005. That's a long time. All right, so we're off the high of the session, barely. High of the session so far, 72.89. And we're trading 72.87.5. We're within striking distance. And the black step line served as good support yesterday, and it was good support today. I already covered how to become a member. I won't go through it all. I'll just tell you, if you want to become a member, email Valerie, support@cfrn.net. Call her at 949-42-EMINI. Leave a voicemail. She'll call you back. She'll send you an info pack. Read it, and then you'll be able to make a well-informed, intelligent decision as to whether or not what we do is right for you. So we'll wrap up this broadcast with our good word for today. Live for a cause greater than yourself. I cannot begin to tell you, just from my own personal life experience, I am the most miserable when I'm focused on me, Dwayne. Whatever my problem is or struggle is, if you can get out of your own head and focus your thoughts and energy on someone else or something else, it changes life. Joshua 14:12. Give me this mountain of which the Lord spoke. And Joshua blessed him and gave Hebron to Caleb. Now again, this is about living for a cause greater than yourself. When Moses sent Caleb to spy out the promised land, Caleb saw something that troubled him, the town of Hebron. Abraham buried his wife there. Abraham himself was buried there. So were Isaac and Jacob. Hebron was a sacred site, but now it was inhabited by their enemies, and that bothered Caleb. It was more than he could take, so he asked Moses for Hebron. He didn't ask for Jerusalem, perched on Mount Moriah, or the valley of Eshcol, where grapes grew as large as plums, or Jericho, where the Jordan River flowed. He wanted Hebron, whose soil had known the visitation of angels and whose earth entombed the holiest family. Joshua blessed him and gave Hebron to Caleb. Caleb wanted to do something great for God. He lived with a higher call than himself. Perhaps, just maybe, the reason your problems feel so great is that your call is too small. Max Lucado, probably my favorite author, tells of a doctor friend who makes regular medical trips to a remote jungle clinic to treat the disadvantaged. He's a retired surgeon with ample income. He could spend every day of his life in ease and luxury, but he focuses on supporting the health clinic for his own good. Huh? Yeah. This is what the doctor said. I need a cause that is greater than cable TV and Cadillacs. If I focus on my comfort, nothing can satisfy me. But when I focus on the concerns of God, I'm a happy man. So ask yourself, do you have a holy cause, a faith worth preserving, a mission worth living for? Ask God to give you a Hebron to claim for His glory. Now, I spent 37 years of my life pretty miserable. Oh, I mean, I partied like it was 1999, long before it was 1999. If you don't get the song reference, that's okay. I was miserable because I was focused on myself and all that came with that. And you've all heard my story. I'm not going to give you my whole testimony today, but the day that I made the decision, I was so miserable, I said, God, take my life and do something with it. Or just take my life. I was a broken man at 37. I had made more money over the course of my adult life than most people make in a lifetime. And I was dead broke. I mean, dead broke. You've seen the bumper stickers, my other car is up my nose. Yeah, well, I won't go into any details, but it was always about what would bring me pleasure, what would bring me comfort. But that night, that simple prayer where I gave the reins back to God, where they belong in the first place, and I allowed Him to take over my life, I began to look for what it was He wanted me to do. And then I'm telling you, this is going to sound made up, but it is the honest to God's truth. A couple days after I had that come to Jesus moment, I walked out of the office where I worked at the time, and there was a little house across the street. Had a for rent sign on it. I called the number and I rented the house over the phone. I went home and I told my wife, hey, I rented this little house over on 16th Street. And she goes, are you insane? We already have a house. I go, I know, but I was on break at work and I was praying, God, what is it you want me to do? And He spoke to me. Now, I didn't audibly hear the voice of God, okay? But when you fine tune, or you let the Holy Spirit fine tune your thinking and your heart, you will hear from God. You may not always like what you hear, but you'll hear. And He said, rent that house. I'm like, you know what, God? I want to question why, but I'm not. I said, you're in control of my life now, and I've got to make good on that. So I just rented the house. Now, I was in the process of reading a novel by Stephen King. It had to do with domestic violence. And the day I rented the house, I finished that book, the Stephen King novel. And then I turned on the evening news, the local Phoenix news. And they were talking about domestic violence. Now, what are the chances, right? First, I've rented a house that I have no use or need for. I've just finished a book about domestic violence. I turn on the TV and they're talking about domestic violence. And at the time, there were 4 shelters for women and children who were victims of domestic violence. They all were federally funded. Chrysalis, I'll just call one name, they got over $1 million a year from the federal government. They had 4 beds. They were spending $1 million of taxpayer money to try to help women and children. I mean, they were doing good, but here's the rub. The newscaster who was doing the show said that on any given day, Chrysalis would field over 100 phone calls. Women who were being beaten by some sick man. And on average, 100 times a day they would say, sorry, we have no open beds. Then I researched the other 3, and it was the same story. They had fat government grant, and they were only helping a hand. And And when a woman would call and say, hey, my husband's beating me, he's abusing my kids, I need help. Sorry, we don't have a bed. Try calling back tomorrow. I'm like, this is insane. This is wrong. And all of a sudden, I saw the pieces of the puzzle come together. I said, honey, I just realized why God had me rent that house. She's like, oh boy, I can't wait to hear this. I said, we're going to open a shelter for battered women and abused children. She said, are you crazy? She said, we don't have that kind of money. We don't know how to do that. I said, well, I believe if we just trust God and the power of the Holy Spirit, he's going to show us and he's going to guide us. She said, oh, whatever. A couple hours pass. The phone rings. My wife has 6 sisters. One, Barb or Barbara. Her and her husband lived up in Flagstaff. And she called Anne Marie to say, hey, we're moving back to Phoenix. And my wife said, why? And Barb said, Dave and I were praying last night, and God spoke to us and told us that we should move back to Phoenix and try to help women and children who are victims of domestic violence. My wife literally dropped the phone. She handed it to me. She goes, talk to Barbara, Dwayne. I don't know what's going on here. So I got on the phone with Barbara and I said, so what's up? And she told me. And I'm like, oh my God. What? Okay, let me cut to the chase. Within 2 weeks, Barb and her family had moved everything to Phoenix. She became the house mother at Cassie's house. A young girl died in Phoenix during this time period, and her name was Cassie. Her mother's boyfriend shot and killed her and tried to kill the mother as well, but she survived. And so a few nights later, I'm watching the news and I hear this story about Cassie because we originally were going to call it Safe Harbor, which is kind of generic. So I called Channel 3 because I had some contacts there. And I said, how can I get a hold of this woman that was on your newscast tonight talking about her daughter? Because she was on the news and she said, this is a tragedy and I want to do something to honor my daughter. And they gave me contact information, or they gave her my number. She called me. I said, how about we have a home for battered women and abused children. How about we change the name to Cassie's house in honor of your daughter? And she said, oh, she just broke down and started weeping. She later went on to testify before Congress to try to, toughen up these laws regarding domestic violence. Within a couple weeks, the house was packed. I mean, we had all the beds filled and women and children were laying on pallets and quilts. And I mean, we didn't have the money. We had no degree in whatever degree it is you get to work with people like that. But we had God. What if when God told me to rent that house, what if I had said no? But I didn't say no. I said yes. I didn't know why. He didn't tell me why. I just did what he told me to do. And then all these pieces just fell into place, one after another after another. And we serve the greater Phoenix area for quite a few years. Eventually, we outgrew that small house, and so we bought a house on the west side of Phoenix. That was back when they had assumable loans. Uh, some of you may not know there ever was such a thing. But if you had a loan on a house, if it was an FHA, I think, a person could you could go down to the courthouse and they could sign the house over to you. And now you were responsible for making the payments and you own the house. So I bought the house for $1. And let's make the story even a little stranger. As I was looking for a house to buy, I saw this one in the paper. And so I went to the address and I knocked on the door. And it had one of these security doors where when the person opens their front door, you can't actually see them through the mesh. And a voice goes, "Dwayne, what are you doing on my doorstep?" I'm like, "Who is that? Who's in there?" Guy opened the door. He used to sit next to me at a place I worked. He goes, "I haven't seen you in years. What brings you over?" I said, "Well, I'm here to buy your house." So the next day we went downtown to City Hall, and I assumed the loan. I gave him $1 and assumed the loan. And then we went on to serve the community for a couple more years until we found ourselves without a house mother. And so we ended up having to close it because we just didn't have anyone to run the place. But I also felt that God had lifted, that call. He had me focused in other directions. We had started to open the orphanage and started to break ground on the orphanage in Kampala, Uganda, East Africa. And one of the women that came into that shelter, she was pregnant and she was hopelessly addicted to crack cocaine, and she was being beaten daily by her pimp. We took her in. She gave birth. And the little boy she gave birth to, his name was Gabriel. And those of you that have been around a while know that I have a son named Gabriel. Yeah, I adopted him, but he's my son. So follow the hand of God through all this. I run a house for no good reason. I already had a house. I finished the book. I watched the newscast. My sister-in-law calls because I said yes. Back to the title of today's good word for the day: live for a cause greater than yourself. That was just the beginning of our ministry. We went on to open the orphanage and a home for men recovering from drugs and alcohol, and we planted a mission in Puerto Penasco, Mexico. We bought an old church building in downtown Phoenix, brought it back to life. That place was so magnificent. If you ever go to my Facebook page, there's a picture of the sanctuary. It's out of this world. It's incredible. And now here I am, 25 years later, 26 years later, telling you this story. If you aren't currently actively on some kind of mission for God's glory, then let that be your prayer. Let that be your petition today. God, show me what you want me to do. And if it doesn't make sense, just do it. Just do it. And you'll know that you were really hearing from God when the pieces start to come together. God can do anything. He just needs people who are willing to do what He asks them to do. God didn't make me do it. Just said, rent that house. My son's 23 years old. In fact, his birthday is in 3 days. Okay, I've stayed too long. Let me go. Thanks so much for tuning in. Whoever you are, wherever you are, may God continue to richly bless you with His mercy and with His grace. And I'll see you at the bell.
Remember this, there is no greater return on investment than to see a human life changed and given hope. As always, pray hard and trade safe. Any financial information discussed on this show is simply the opinion of our host, Dwayne Reeves, his co-hosts, and guests. To learn more about trading E-mini futures or to take a 1-week free trial in our live trading room, call 1-866-928-3310. 866-928-3310. Information discussed on this radio program should not be construed as a recommendation to buy or sell any security. Always do your own due diligence and consult with a licensed securities broker or financial planner before making any investment decision.